All right, welcome. Chris Tonis here, CEO of Preeminent Recruitment. And today we're going to be discussing how you can stop letting your career ruin your relationships. And we're also going to talk about how to get the job that you want and deserve in the next 30 days. Now, before we dive in, I do want to talk a bit about who this is for and who this is not for. So, this is for the person who is tired of the job that they go to every day, or they feel like their relationships are suffering as a result of their employment, career choice, or decisions they've made that have led them to this point and have created a situation and a dynamic that's not desirable with your friends, your family, your children, your spouse. So this isn't unique to just people that are married or that are in a long-term serious relationship. We're also talking about friends, family, children. Now, this is also not for the person who's very content with life. You're very happy with what you have, and making a change or transitioning right now would rock the boat more than it would improve your life. And this is a very small percentage of the population. As little as 16% of people find full fulfillment in the job that they're doing today. But as we're going to discuss, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And it's right within your grasp, and making the right decisions from here on out and taking the right actionable steps will get you to where you want to be and what you want. And that is my promise for you here today, is by the end of this video, and please watch the whole thing because you're going to need to grasp everything. By the end of this video, you're going to have a full understanding of why your career and position at where you're currently at is hurting your relationships, how to prevent that from happening further, and then how to get the job that you really want and deserve that will make you the best family member, the best friend, and magnify your relationships in the best way possible. So let's dive in. Research has found that 60%, over 60% of relationships are severely damaged as a result of one spouse's career or job choice. Now, that statistic is scary enough on its own, but what happens when two spouses or two significant others or two friends hate their job? Do you think that stat rises? Well, I'm pretty confident in saying that it probably does. And if 80+% of Americans are unsatisfied by their employment, then I think we're going to find that this number is astronomical. And I think we're seeing this play into the high divorce rate, into increasingly decreasing relationships between parents and children and friends. And I think a lot of societal factors are playing into this. And so if we can focus on what we can control, which is our career, which we're going to get to in a minute, then some of the other things around us can have less of an impact on us and our relationships. Now, what do you think this looks like for parent-child relations, friendships, and family dynamics? I can confidently say, even though I couldn't find any deep research on this or valid research on this, that this 60% is transferable to all the other subsets. I think 60% of relationships are struggling between parents and children as a result of career and job choices, same with friendships, and same as family dynamics. And I can speak to this because I've been this person. And to share a little bit about me in that front is I was at a job that I couldn't stand for 5 years. I had direct management personnel that I found myself at odds with quite frequently. I had teammates who were lazy, and I was picking up their work and the slack that they left behind in order to keep our processes going. I had no growth potential. I had no financial growth potential. And it felt like the world was on my shoulders. And I believed that, and falsely, that I could leave work behind me when I left every day. But what I found is no matter how good I got at managing the situation, I found myself focusing on the things that are outside of my sphere of influence. And as a result, I came home and I was short with my daughter, and I was short with my spouse, and our relationship suffered severely until I decided that, the grass could be greener somewhere else. I just need to take the right steps. And that's when I began to do an immense amount of research of making sure that everything I do moving forward was the right step for me. And I spent 20,000 hours researching and talking to people. I spoke to over 10,000 people in their job search, or over 8,000 at this point. We're on pace for 10,000. I spoke to over 100 different companies and hiring managers on their hiring processes and recruitment best practices. I consulted with companies on over 15 different industries to kind of garner what it's like for everybody out there, because I figured people's situation must be similar to mine, but probably a little bit different. And what I found is we're all in this together in a very similar type of way. So the truth is, with all that being said, that we can never leave our job and career behind us. It's emotional baggage, and it's so heavy of a burden that even the strongest of us cannot leave the stress and the anxieties of our employment behind us every single day. But the good news is jobs are not permanent, nor are careers. So if you are a 20-year-old watching this, a 30-year-old, a 40, a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, there's still time. And the best example that I can give you of this, of someone that we all probably know of, is Colonel Sanders. And you might not know this about the Colonel, but he, in his 50s and 40s and 50s, was actually in the hotel business. And I believe around when he was 50 years old, his hotel, with all his life savings in it, burned down in a fire. And so he kind of refound himself and created his secret recipe, as we know the story. And it wasn't until he was 65 years old that he started to franchise KFC, and he had to do so with his Social Security money. This is a fantastic story to show you that it's never too late to change your stars. I'm not saying you have to become an entrepreneur, a business person. I'm actually telling you to do the opposite, because it's hard in this vein, in a small transition, and finding what you really want as an employee is probably the first best step you could do. But if Colonel Sanders could take that kind of risk and find his passion at his age, then no matter who you are watching this, you can find your passion, do it for somebody else, and then maybe someday even do it for yourself. And there's a million stories like this. For every KFC, there's 100 plus employees who made the transition and found something they love to do. So you're probably wondering, who am I and why am I here talking to you about job searches and in relationships, and what do I even know? Well, first and foremost, my name is Chris Tonis. I am the CEO of Preeminent Recruitment, as well as the Job Search Academy. I have been blessed to speak to over 8,343 job seekers and counting. And like I said, the goal is 10,000 by the end of this year, advising them on job search tactics, assuring their job search success. I act as a consultant for companies in over 15 different industries on recruitment, retention, best practices. I have worked with companies as small as startups hiring their first employees, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies revenuing billions of dollars a year. And in addition to all of this, I've been in a position similar to you where I had to learn first. I spent over $200,000 on my personal education, personally getting mentored, paying to be mentored by Damon John from Shark Tank, Grant Cardone, a billionaire entrepreneur, Brad Lee, the founder of Lightspeed TV, and many, many others. I've invested in all their programs and I've learned a lot. In addition to that, I have education from UNH, the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce University, where I worked on my MBA, the University of Cambridge, where I've taken some courses, and the Harvard Business School, where I've also taken some courses on leadership and finance. So I've been able to learn a lot through these avenues, and all of it is transferable here. I've spent every ounce of my being learning about careers and job searches and figuring out what's best for people and what do they need to know and what can they go without knowing. Which leads me to my mission. My mission with this video and with speaking directly to you is to help over 1,000 people in the next 6 months land the job of their dreams and dynamically change their life and relationships as a result. It's funny. I originally, when I first started helping people in this industry, my original goal was to help them find the job that they want. Then I realized it's not the job that matters to us. It's not our careers that matter to us. It's what we become because of our jobs and our careers. And that person we become affects our relationships. And at the end of the day, the most important thing in our lives is our experiences and our relationships. And it's really relationships because our relationships shape our experiences. And so when you think about your job, I don't want you to think about it anymore as a career or a position. I want you to think about what you're going to become as a result of your job. And so that's what we're going to do. And now we're going to dive into some of the tactical things to make sure that you can get the job that you want and deserve and do so in a very efficient amount of time. So step one, and perhaps my favorite step, maybe not necessarily the most essential because we're going to talk about that in step 3 or 4, but it cannot be skipped. And it is probably my favorite step because 99.999% of people I talk to skip this step. This step starts with defining what you really want, making a list, asking why, and redefining those priorities. I'm going to give you an example here, but before I do so, let's talk a bit about what people currently are doing. So we're going to use an example throughout this entire training that I am presently a marketing manager and I want to become a marketing director. And so what most people do in that position for their job search is they decide it's time for a change. I want to become a marketing director. They take to Google, they type in marketing director jobs in the greater Boston area. That's where I'm located. And they find 7 to 10 positions and they submit the quick apply through Google or CareerBuilder, Indeed, Monster, wherever it is. They probably don't hear anything back because they're not necessarily the perfect fit because they're not presently a marketing director. But if they hear back from one company, they tend to go through the process. And if they're lucky enough to get through the process and get a job offer, they accept that position because they're excited and enthusiastic about the opportunity for growth and a new opportunity. Everything new feels good in that initial moment. Think about this as a relationship. It's incredible how meeting a new person within the first month, you don't just tolerate them. It's incredible. But what happens is after those first few months, you really see what the person's like. And the person either isn't a good fit and you get tired of each other, or the relationship gets stronger. And that's how you know you're in the right relationship usually. Obviously, I'm super generalizing here, but jobs are the same way. Everything's exciting until you start there, until you get 60 days in, and then all of a sudden you start seeing the job for what it is. And this is why most people struggle, is because they're always looking for a job, not the job. You are watching this and you're going to tell me that you don't need help from anybody because you can find a job. Anybody can do that. But the fact is, that's the problem. Very few people know how to find the job that will make their friends proud of them, their family proud of them, and even make other people jealous. And it's going to make you feel good every day. It's very hard to find that job. And it's because most people skip step 1. So you're going to be ahead of 99.999% of the people by just simply doing this. So again, we're a marketing manager. And let's define what we want. Well, the first thing we're going to write on our list is probably compensation. It's the first thing top of mind for everybody, but we're going to discuss why it's not actually important as you think it is, and it's not the number one priority ever. It's surface level. And you're going to ask yourself why 2 to 4 times. I learned this from a book, and it's a very, very powerful experience. So you're going to say, okay, compensation is the most important thing to me. You're going to say, why? Well, compensation is the most important thing to me because without money, I can't do the things that I want and I love. Now we pause here and ask ourselves, well, what if I don't have work flexibility? What if I'm working crazy hours? Then I have money, but I don't have the experiences. And then I just say that I want money to create experiences. So already we debunked that compensation might be the most important thing. So what we need to do is define a range that's we're willing to accept, keep our lifestyle and enjoy experiences. Now we know we want the money for this reason. And now we can define that range. We have to keep it reasonable because if it's not our number one priority, we need to make sure that we get what we want most, which what it sounds like is experience and flexibility. So we say flexibility is our number one priority. Why is flexibility your number one priority? Well, I want to spend more quality time with my family. Well, what if I hate my job and I don't feel fulfilled in what I'm doing? I'm spending more time with my family, but I'm even more miserable. So maybe flexibility isn't actually the number one most important thing. Maybe having a vision and a mission in a company that you believe in and are helping people every day that makes you feel fulfilled and be the best person you can be is the number one most important thing to you. Because then no matter how much time you have with your family, and as long as you're making your baseline income that you need, you can come home and be the best person you can be with your family. And that's how you play this exercise. Now I'm being biased towards my own thoughts. You're going to have your own. That's step number one. Step number two is you're going to define who and what companies have what you want and align with your principles. And you're going to do this for 20 to 100 different companies. This is going to take a lot of research. Shouldn't take you more than a couple hours, but it's going to take a lot of Googling and researching around to read mission and visions and feedback from employees and reaching out to people on LinkedIn and so forth. And you're going to define a dream list of 20 to 100 companies that you'd love to work for. And then you're going to search who has the positions that you're most interested in. And so if, let's say you have a list of 100 companies you like to work for, 15 to 20 of them have the job that you're extremely interested, you now have your 20 dream jobs. And now you can do whatever it takes to get in front of these people. So once we need to get in front of these people, the first thing we need to do is clean up our resume and look like it was professionally put together. Now, I'm going to speed through this and I'm going to come back to it. So a good resume should be clean, concise, job-specific, data-intensive, and goal-focused. Now, we actually start at the bottom here. You should be goal-focused first. You should understand what you want out of building this resume. Do you want to come across as a marketing director with your resume? If the answer is yes, then you start with part 3, which is the job-specific piece. Okay, we know we want to come across as a marketing director, but we've only been a manager. How can we make our resume look like a marketing director's resume without lying? And so now that you know this, you start changing around some of the keywords. You start talking about how you were responsible for the marketing budget. You were talking about how you had a supervisor or a team leader reporting into you, because it's the same type of responsibilities a director would have. You're responsible for all recruiting and hiring and firing and all of that good stuff. And that's the primary focus of your resume. It isn't talking about the key metrics necessarily that you hit as an individual marketer, because that shows you as a hands-on manager, not a director. That's how you make a resume job specific, right? But hypothetically speaking, if we were also interested in a marketing manager role, we would definitely have a different version of our resume where we talk about how we were also working at the staff level, working hand in hand with the marketers and getting campaigns out and talking about that as well as the leadership, because you don't want to come across as overqualified. So there's a sweet spot right in the middle. Now, the formatting and structure of the resume should be clean and concise. And what I mean by that is your resume should be clean, no graphs, no pictures, no imagery. Very simplified. You lead with your strengths. So if you have a master's and the job calls for a master's, lead with education. If you have a bachelor's and the job calls for a master's, lead with your experience. Leave your education at the bottom. Keep it very in line, so everything in the same line, with dates to the left, positions and companies to the right, and bolded, underlined, caps, so it's easy to skim read, and then 5 to 15 bullet points per job. But what you're going to do is at first you're going to write 20 to 25 bullet points and cut out all the non-necessary ones. That way it's very concise with the information that you need, and it needs to have a lot of data. You had 14 people reporting to you as a marketing manager. You were running on a budget of $1 million a month, and you ran 15 campaigns a week for email campaigns, and you just use specific data. Do not round up. And if you can do these simple things, your resume is going to look far better than anybody else's. Don't be fooled by the complex CVs that look impressive, because I recently had somebody who paid $2,000 to have their resume formatted. And he said to me, Chris, I want you to take a look at this. And so I took a look and I said, you know what, honestly, I don't like this. Why don't we use a more simplified version that's easier for people to read? And he said, I'm not sure about that. And I said, well, let me ask you something. You have 100 resumes to read tomorrow. This one falls on your desk. Are you going to take the time to try to get a magnifying glass and figure out where the experience is and find that this person's qualified or not? He said, no, I'd probably throw this resume in the trash. And I go, there you go. So I have a clean, simplified version. The most important section, as I had mentioned previously, is once we have this built out, once we know who we want to work for, we know who has our positions, we have the resume put together, we then can use artful creativity to get noticed. 92% of job applications never see the hiring manager, or the hiring manager never sees them. So there has to be a better way, right? We can't rely on a resume that's never going to be seen to be our way of getting a job interview or a job offer that we really want. And that's what most people are doing. That's why this is the most important section in this entire course, because if you can find a way to get in front of the hiring manager, in front of HR, you can make sure that resume is read. You can make sure that you are heard. You can sell yourself into any position. The possibilities there. I'm not saying you're going to sell yourself for every position, but you will have the opportunity to land any job if you have a chance to sell yourself. So the way we do this is a couple ways. First, you could use social media. So let's say you submit your applications online. Always continue to submit applications online. Submit the application online. Go to the company's Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page, LinkedIn page, whatever. Drop them a personal message saying, hey, I was wondering if you could share my resume with whoever is responsible for hiring or an HR for this position. I'm extremely qualified and would really appreciate it. We write it this way because the people running the social media pages are often some sort of marketing outsourcer, marketing manager, director, internally, whatever it is. They're not responsible for hiring. But doing this, you can get your information passed along or the contact information for the people that need to see it. Next, and the most important and best way is to use LinkedIn. Now, I don't have time to cover the exact scripts to use for these types of things. I think this is important, but the scripts is the absolute most important part of this whole thing, because with the right wording and phraseology, you can get yourself referred into any job or at least get the grasp of someone's interest, because copywriting or writing and persuading through word is the most powerful feature in the world today in any capacity. It's why we buy things. It's why we go on dates with people. It's how we get jobs. But by using LinkedIn, even without necessarily knowing the perfect scripts, you'll have a lot of success. And so what you do is you search the company, you click the company's page, there's a tab that says people, you click people, and then you're going to connect and personally message the HR manager, hiring managers, 2 or 3 contacts within the organization, one staff member who'd be your peer, and you're going to send them personalized messages representative to them. If it's the hiring manager, you can let them know who you are and let them know that you're interested in the role and ask if you can share their information. If it's a peer, you start a conversation with them, and there's a very specific formula for this, but we don't have the time today, where you connect with them, you start engaging with them, you ask them about their experience there, and then you ask them to refer you in, and they will do it if you do it the right way. Next, you can call, you can send mail, you can show up in person, you can email them, just do something beyond just applying. And you got to do it with consistency. None of this works without consistency. It's not one email that's going to get you the job. It's 3. It's not one phone call. It's 3. You got to be persistent, and very, 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 very few, less than 1% of people are told no because they seem desperate. But I can tell you about 90% of people are told no because they don't seem like they really want the job. So you ask yourself who you want to be, the person who doesn't really want the job or the person that wants the job. Now you've gotten the interview. All interviews are won in the preparation. You know, one of the biggest travesties is most interviews are lost because people simply focus on the wrong thing when they're preparing for an interview. They focus on the questions they're going to be asked. It's actually the most popular Google search around job searches and interviews is, what questions am I going to be asked on the interview? I can't even believe it. What you should be preparing for is what questions you are going to ask them. And you should be spending time researching the company, their mission, their vision, major projects they have going on. You see, most people go into an interview and they ask something like, could you tell me about the company culture or mission or vision? That's a horrible question. You think it's a good question. Most people do, and you're not wrong for thinking so, but there's a lack of education out there. That's a bad question. You should have done your research. Imagine 2 people going in for an interview. One says, yeah, could you tell me a bit about what it's like to work for your company, your mission, your vision, all that? And then a second person comes in later and says, I did some research and I saw that your vision for the company is X, Y, and Z. I am aligned perfectly with that. So I'd love to hear more about how that plays into the day-to-day operations at your company. Who asked the better question? It should be obvious, right? You've now showed them that you're the type of person that's a self-starter. Rather than just saying it, you showed it. You did research. You took the initiative. They're going to be impressed by that, and you're going to stand out if you can do these types of things. And we have dozens of questions that can show you how to stand out, and we have helped people absolutely crush preparing for interviews, and we're going to get to that at the end. But there's a lot of stuff here to unpack, but if you just do those things, you're going to be in good shape. And I'm not going to go deep in this, but winning interviews is easy by simply controlling the interview, by asking better and more questions, talking less, and listening more. Because the person who's controlling the interview through question asking is controlling the perception. And if you're controlling the perception, then you can control what they perceive you as, then you can win the interview. So control the interview by asking better questions. They ask you a question out of the gates, you ask them one in return, and then you do not let off. You keep asking questions and questions and questions and questions. And don't be awkward about this. Don't just say question after question, but respond to their answers. And they say, well, could you tell me more about this? And you keep going. Now you can seal the deal for any interview by following up. A lot of people don't do this. It's very simple. Send an email, send some mail, make a phone call. Now, I think the best strategy here is to use mail. I had a person very close to me who was very interested in a job she interviewed for, and she wrote a handwritten note and had it overnighted, knowing that the mail would get to the office at about 10 or 11 a.m. Her interview was at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. She finished up her interview. She left. The hiring manager gets back to their desk, gets the mail dropped on their desk around lunch, and gets this personalized note, handwritten, showing again the initiative and the time and the effort and the concern. She ended up getting a job there at the company, which she was underqualified for. And the person told her that they chose her over people more qualified for her because they felt that she really wanted this position and would make it work no matter what, and that she was the type of person that took initiative and took a risk. And so they liked her for that. Just a thought. Now, once you get to the end of this process, there's some really important things that we're going to cover in the last few slides here. So please stick with me. This is incredibly important. After you've gone through this process, you probably have a pretty good idea if this is the job for you or not. Does it make you happy? Is it going to repair your relationships because it makes you happy? Does it align with your defined goals? And then most importantly, you ask yourself this question around regret. Which would you regret not doing more 5 years from now? Would you regret not taking a risk on this new opportunity 5 years from now more? Or would you regret not staying put where you are stuck more? So whenever you're scared, ask yourself this question. What am I going to regret not doing more in 5 years? Because it's regret that keeps us up at night. It's regret at the end of our lives that is the thing that bothers us most, right? And so don't allow regret to take you over. So like I said, there's a very important last section here because most people are wondering, well, what's next? Most people that we speak to and that we work to through these workshops tell us that they have all the information that they feel they're ready to go, but they don't necessarily want to risk going at this alone. This is the most important moment of your life. It's the first time that you're awake to the idea that your job and career is ruining your entire life. It's the reason why your relationships are struggling. It's the root cause for your pain and misery. And so to make sure that you don't end up in another painful or miserable situation, you know that you need to fix this. And yes, you have the blueprint, but so many people have reached out to us after these types of webinars that we decided to put something together to make sure that we could help people out so that they have assistance to make sure that they do everything right next. So you do not have to do this alone. So we built a program, and it's only available to people that have watched this webinar or have signed up for this webinar. That's it. No one else is going to have access to this, only you. And the reason is I'm going to be working with everybody one-on-one, which means there's one of me. I'm running a recruitment, a talent acquisition business, a consultant business, as well as the entire Job Search Academy. So I have a very limited schedule. And so I can only help a certain amount of people. So please take advantage of this quickly. But you are also one of the only people that are going to see this offer and opportunity. And here's what it entails. First, you're going to have a strategy session with me to blueprint and plan out your entire job search. It's going to be about a 20 to 30 minute phone call, cannot exceed 30 minutes, but we will get everything done. I'm going to learn more about you, what you're looking for, and how to tailor everything that happens next towards you. We're going to leave that phone call with an exact strategy that's going to help you get the job that you want as soon as humanly possible. Next is I'm going to send you weekly training videos tailor-made for you based off of where you're at in your job search. And I'm going to send these out over a course of 4 weeks. So you're going to get about 5 videos a week tailored to where you're at and solving your problems. You can send me your resume. We'll review and audit it. I'll send you a video response showing you exactly what changes and tweaks you should add and what things you should implement, as well as obviously our resume template, so you can have the professional formatting template. I then will do the same for your LinkedIn or other social medias, depending on what you prefer to use. I'll give you a review, an audit, and show you how to make yours look incredibly professional. I will then, maybe most importantly, be available for you by SMS, email, and messenger every single week for accountability. Once a week, I'll check in and we'll go back and forth via messenger, SMS, or email and discuss and answer your questions. And that way we can plan ahead for the following weeks. Finally, you'll get PDFs surrounding how to land your dream jobs in 30 days, interview confidence, best questions asked during the interview. And I'm going to send a ton of those over. There's many, many more that we can send throughout the weeks. If they are useful to you in particular, you just have to email me back and let me know that in our weekly check-ins. My promise for you is we will continue working with you until you get the job that makes your family proud and your friends proud, and also your friends a bit jealous. I'm going to work with you until you get that job that you really want and deserve, no matter what. And my guarantee to make this incredibly simple for you, to make this an absolute no-brainer, 100% win-win for you, is if at any point you feel that we're letting you down or not providing you the value you paid for, we will fully refund you upon request. And in addition to that, pay you an additional 10%. That means we'll pay you, if you ask for a refund, of the total you paid for time spent with us. That is how confident we are that we can help you out. And at the end of the day, we know people do the right thing. We know that if you're watching this, you're probably interested in me because you can feel my integrity, which means you probably hold a lot of integrity yourself. We know people aren't going to buy this course just to make 10% back and ask for an immediate refund. And at the end of the day, we want to make you sure that you understand that we're in this for the right reasons. We're not here to rip anybody off. And if I was, I wouldn't be offering a guarantee, and I definitely wouldn't be offering you money back as a guarantee as well. I'm here for the right reasons because I want you to take advantage of this because I know it will change your life. Now, normally when we work with people in this type of manner, we charge them, $4,997. Yes, we charge people $5,000 for this, and we work with a lot of executives and some new grads too even, but we work with a lot of people at this price point, and we knew that we had to make it more accessible to help more people. And so what we found is that at the temporary price point that we're offering it for, and this is very temporary until my time gets maxed out, then it's going all the way back up. We're offering it at $497 in a one-time payment, or if needed, 5 payments of $125. Reason being is we found that even if someone didn't have $500 or $125 that they could pay us over the course of a few weeks, they had a family member that would be willing to spot them this money until they got the job that they really wanted and deserve. Actually, believe it or not, more than half of the people that we work with get money from their family to help them in this type of situation. So if you're incredibly interested in this, show them the video. Show them that the help that you're going to get is real and that it's going to impact your life. And they will want to help you. If you have the money, I suggest that you pay the $497 in a one-time payment because it's cheaper. The reason that the 5 payments is of $125 is because I get a processing fee every time someone purchases. And so this actually subtracts down to about the same, but it's going to cost you in that instance over $600. And so at the temporary $497 with the one-time payment, all you have to do is click the button below. It's going to take you to a checkout page. On the checkout page, you just simply input your information and you make your purchase. Once you make the purchase, I will reach out within 24 hours to start sending you some videos to get you started, some launch trainings, and also give you my schedule so we can get on an onboarding call within the next couple of days. And we can get your job search in order. We'll start sending PDFs, all of that, but we'll tell you more about that on the strategy session, which is where everything begins. If you need to make 5 payments of $125, that's absolutely fine. I totally understand. What you can do is you make 5 payments of $125. It has to be within 6 weeks. And if you're interested in doing that, we can give you the parameters of that and we can send you separate invoices. And the way you can get moving with that is to simply email me right here at chris@thehighestpayingjobs.com. Now, I hope you take advantage of this. Every single month, people spend anywhere from $400 to $1,600 a month on groceries and simple purchases that we need for everyday life. And so I hope that you look at this investment in yourself as something as essential as going to the store and getting your groceries. Right now, given the gas prices and the calamity surrounding us on that, you probably spend close to this on gas alone a month. Or maybe you're someone like myself who goes out to dinner once a month and spend $100 a week, which again would equate to the same price point here. If you're willing to go out to dinner once a week, if you're willing to buy yourself new shoes every couple of months, then be willing to invest in your career and your life for the same amount of money. Be willing to invest in your relationships. You will be better for it. You will be happy for it, and you will have better relationships with the people that matter most, which will lead to those life experiences that makes life worth living. So please take advantage of this. Like I said, all you have to do is click the button below if you're willing and ready to start and get started with partnering with me, or drop us an email if you need to make payments. But we're excited to work with you regardless. Please take advantage of this. I'm only going to be able to help anywhere from 15 to 20 people at first. And I can tell you we already have quite a few people interested. So please, as soon as you see this, take advantage. Do not hesitate, because the next time you see this, it might be out of your price point up at $5,000. And that would be a real shame, because I'd love to help you. All right. Thanks so much and take care.